Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, today we're looking at Aerospace Engineering and how it fits into the grand scheme of all things engineering.
Hindsight, James. I really feel like after doing this research, I should have been an aerospace engineer.
So I'll put this out there. Of all the engineering fields, I think aerospace is probably the most closely tied to mechanical engineering. And so that makes it okay in my book. It's kind of like the younger, smarter, better looking brother, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like me to my brother, or like me to you. Like, I'm the aerospace to your mechanical engineering.
Oh. So you're just like a little bit better than a mechanical engineer
Right.
in all aspects.
Basically, yes.
So that's a dig on me.
But
that you
slightly
just did.
less, it was a dig,
Okay,
yes.
I get it now.
But
I
less
get it.
diverse. So according to Aero, that's A-E-R-O,
Okay.
.psu.edu, going back to my roots here, aerospace engineering is the primary field of engineering concerned with the design, development, testing, and production of aircraft, spacecraft, and related systems of equipment.
Wow.
So apparently there's two branches, which I did not know.
I didn't know that either.
There's aeronautical engineering, which focuses on theory, technology, and practices of flight within the Earth's atmosphere.
And there's astronautical.
There's astronautical as well. You nailed it. Good job, Luke. So that's focusing on the science, technology, and design of spacecraft and like launch vehicles.
Things that go outside of our atmosphere.
That's right. So the ones inside would be like lighter than aircrafts, gliders, fixed wings, airplanes, jets, that kind of stuff. Helicopters. The other ones are like spacecrafts. So that's something.
I have a bullet list of what they do.
Okay.
I feel like we have to do this for our listeners. So if you're in high school and you're thinking of like what are you going to do day to day, and you kind of did a little bit of this, but I want to like.
Oh, I have a lot.
Oh, you
wanna
do?
do this now? Go
We
ahead.
could.
Okay, let's hear
Okay.
it. I mean, this is what everybody's listening for.
So I think everybody thinks, oh, I'm an aeronautical engineer. I draw swoopy pictures of airplanes, and I do like FEA or CFD on airplane wings. And they probably do. But in all likelihood, they're probably sitting around doing a lot of spreadsheets.
Yeah. Love spreadsheets.
I know you hate spreadsheets.
Man, give me some PowerPoint on top of it.
They're probably writing proposals. They're, doing a ton of research. I mean, I would say probably the biggest part of what they do in most cases, because planes are already flying, right? They don't need to make that. You need to make them better. So it's all this research to make things lighter and make things faster and to make things more fuel efficient and all these crazy things. So I think a big part of this is research. It's not a lot of practical testing. You're not going to be sitting in a wind tunnel with your little, quarter scale plane or wing. You might be doing that. But the reality is you're probably going to be some grunt making 3D models, running calculations, and that's going to be your life.
That was really discouraging, Luke.
It's not meant to be discouraging.
That was.
It's meant to be, this is probably what you're going to do.
But everyone wants to dream that they're going to work for NASA or maybe SpaceX.
And they're going to be drawing the
Is
spaceship.
it Blue Origin? Is
Blue
that the
Origin.
one? Like, yeah, you're making the spaceship. You're changing the... I know you're not, but we want to dream.
Yeah,
Like,
you're doing a
we wanna
calculation
dream.
on a bracket that holds this piece to this piece to make sure it doesn't break.
And you can't actually do a good job of it. No, I guess in this field you have to. It has
Yeah.
to be very light.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just down in the dumps now.
Yeah, I don't mean to be a downer because there is opportunities to like manage groups. I think a lot of this, and this is just engineering in general. What ends up happening is you end up like managing a group of people and you do no engineering at all.
I know how that is. Yeah.
I mean,
we both know about that.
Yeah.
So that's something.
So
Can I back this up a little bit and talk about the history of aerospace engineering?
there's history.
There's history.
The Wright,
Not a lot.
the Wright brothers.
I think they might be part of my history
Okay.
mentioned here. But it all started back in the 19th and early 20th century, although the work of Sir George Cayley, C-A-Y-L-E-Y, dates from the last decades of the 18th and mid-19th century, so a long time ago. So this guy was pioneering aeronautical engineering and is credited as the first person to separate the forces of lift and drag,
What?
which are in effect on any vehicle in flight.
That's the black magic that
Right?
that I don't understand.
Well, really, that's why I kind of wanted to throw him out there. Is like, I've never heard of this guy.
He's the
but
lift and
everybody
drag guy?
knows lift and drag. Like that's huge.
I never heard that name before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like all episodes, I now have to mention war because it does
Yeah.
everything. Between World War I and II, there were huge leaps in aeronautical engineering, and the advent of mainstream civil aviation really accelerated the process. So, notable military planes of the period were apparently the Mitsubishi A6M0, a submarine Spitfire, and I can't even say this, Messerschmitt Bf 109 from Japan, Great Britain, and Germany, respectively. So all these things were really, leading the way. The jet engine started to really change things. And this is when aerospace engineering became a thing.
Like a field.
Yeah, so the first definition of aerospace engineering appeared in February of 1958. So if you think about it, something like mechanical or civil engineering was probably around much longer because of the topics that it dealt with, where aerospace just wasn't even a thing up until this time, really. So the definition considered the Earth's atmosphere and then, space. So it broke it into the two branches. So, so we had NASA, right? And in response, the USSR launched the first satellite, Sputnik. The U.S. Aerospace launched its first American satellite like a year later, and the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, was founded in 1958. So that was basically a response to the Cold War.
Okay.
So I would say NASA, 1958, is my official date of when aerospace engineering became
like a real thing.
Do you think so? I mean, I get it, lift and drag guy, that's super cool, but nobody did anything with it until NASA in the way we think of it now.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree.
Well, you're stupid, so there's that. I take it back. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry, Mom.
No, you don't. I just think that a lot of it was so. Like, I think you're definitely correct that this is whenever the field of particular study, calculations, but I think like when you think of like the Wright brothers, I mean, they were just doing physical test after test after test to change things. So I think it was definitely, I don't know if I'd call it, aeronautical or aeronautical engineering, but I mean, they were definitely doing, build, test, fail, build, test, fail over and over and over again. When you're talking about it, it just became a field of study.
Right.
Where
It's
you're
theoretical.
doing
It's
calculations.
the sciences.
Theoretical. Yeah.
Yeah. So two separate things.
Yeah. So I kind of disagree. I think they were doing it.
Okay. I'll allow you to disagree.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So before we get into more about what they do, where you should do it at, how much you make for doing it, let's take a break for a word from our sponsor.
And the sponsor's MIT.
It is not. It is SpaceX.
It's not.
It is not them either.
Damn it.
Don't sue
No,
us.
yet, please.
For our $0 that we make. It is nobody, but we do have many, many shout-outs.
We had a lot of shout outs on the last one, too.
We did. So we have a bunch of them. So not a whole lot of extra love for all of you. Charlie W, shout out. Robert M, angry that we didn't have mathematics in our top 10 inventions. Matt D for some episode suggestions. Craig W, who likes you more than Dave. So that's something.
Yes.
Kevin J, who is way smarter than us for his knowledge of batteries. Danny H, Stone C from PA, Jonas P, who got a shout out last episode and was angry he didn't get another one. I sent him stickers. I need a secretary to do this, or at least an intern, because we get so many emails and so many stickers now because we're a big deal.
If we had an intern, that would be awesome.
I think so. I mean, unpaid. If anyone wants to become an unpaid intern at Unprofessional Engineering, email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com.
It's probably like a couple hours of work a week.
Yeah, no doubt. Camille K, who we are... Oh, this is a great one. We're helping brush up on learning English. So that's cool, right? We're really making a difference.
Are they learning English from two people from Pittsburgh?
Uh-huh. Yin's gonna go downtown now?
And go up on the roof.
Oh, goodness.
Right up the house.
Yeah. So that was great. There were all sorts, and we have so many more shout-outs to go in our upcoming episodes.
Subscribe.
Like.
Review. We'll get you some stickers.
We are officially the third best podcast in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Ching.
You want to get on board before we become number 2.
Wah, wah.
All
right.
Okay, moving on, Luke. What do you got for me?
So I think we have to talk about probably the most important thing that I think anybody thinks about whenever you're considering a career, and that is your job pay.
Heck yeah.
So, interestingly, aeronautical engineer, or I'm sorry, aerospace, because I don't want to be aerospace engineers. They make a median average wage of $115,220 as of May last year. And that's median, not average, so just kind of keep that in mind. And the interesting thing is the lowest 10% is $70,000, and the highest 10% is over $160,000. So these cats are making some coin,
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm okay with that.
And this is in comparison to like regular median engineer pay. So you're a regular mechanical engineer. The median is $93,000 a year. Now, this isn't like coming directly out of school. That's just a median. So they make significantly more money. You know, about, what's that, 10, 15? They're making about $20,000 more dollars a year, median income, than a mechanical engineer.
So a couple of things. I have a list of companies and what their average would be for someone who's kind of like getting on with their career there.
Okay. So this is a college graduate kind of
Yeah,
thing.
college graduate. Like, so Boeing company looks like it pays about 88, which is pretty good.
Not too shabby.
Northrop, big one, 90. NASA, 98, which surprises me, being that it's, governments. Lockheed, 74, so on the low end. SpaceX, 92. Now, I believe that Tesla doesn't pay that much, so I'm kind of surprised SpaceX is on the higher side. Naval Air Systems Command, government, so 68. Lockheed Aeronautics, 82. And GE Aviation, 90. Now, the numbers are great and they make more money and all that. I had a friend who worked for one of these companies. I won't name them in case they want to become a sponsor, so hit us up at the emails to give us money. But he worked there for like maybe 4 years.
Okay.
And just was completely burnt out. Like
Yeah,
they worked him
work
hard. Yeah. And it did not sound like a pleasant place to be working.
Yeah, I think all of these, I mean, they're so cutting edge what they're doing.
It's so cutting edge. Everything has to be so accurate.
Super competitive,
So, yeah.
too. And this goes into what I'm going to talk about next, and this is the job outlook. So from now until 2026, there's only...
20, so, like in the next 6-7 years?
Yeah,
Okay.
what year is it? 2019? Yeah. So next 6-7 years, it's only a 6% growth. Now... It
seems okay to me.
It seems all right, but regular mechanical engineering is somewhere around 9 or 10%.
Oh yeah.
So, there's smaller growth, so it's super competitive. They pay a lot of money. We're going to talk about the schools here in a minute, but it just seems like one of those things where when they get you, they know they can really work you like a dog.
Yeah. I'll throw this out there, though, as well. Kind of like with all of our engineering episodes that we've talked about, mechanicals might not be the top choice for one of these jobs, but you're probably going to be the second choice because you're just kind of the jack of all trades if you're a mechanical.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Not even adequate at most.
No.
All right. Do you want to talk a little bit about the colleges?
Yeah,
A lot of normal folks on the list, huh?
Yeah. So, and it just makes me mad. I feel like it seems unfair.
Yeah.
So I got the top 3 listed.
Oh, I got a bunch.
You can go more, but
Okay.
and yours look slightly different than mine.
Okay.
But the number 1 school by far is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT as I like to
good
call
old
it.
MIT.
We broadcast from
We
MIT.
did,
Remember
live. That
We
was
did a live
fun.
that was a lot of fun. We got to do
Yeah.
something like that again.
We should.
But here's the problem. $51,832 per year. So you're talking undergraduate degree, you're in the hole $200,000.
Ouch. Ouch. That's
Yeah.
before books and...
That's before a lot of stuff.
Oh.
So number 2 on my list, yours is slightly different.
That's okay.
And there's
It's all
no
good.
in-state, out-of-state that I could find. So it doesn't matter where you live, that's what
Yeah.
you're paying.
Okay.
Next, my number 2 was Georgia Institute of Technology, significantly
Georgia Tech.
less. Georgia Tech is $33K out of state, $12,500 in state.
Yeah.
So significantly cheaper, but still, you're graduating with an undergraduate degree of what, $124,000 of debt. Again, before anything else. Coming in at number 3 for me is California Institute of Technology at $52,300.
I just wrote a lot.
That is so stupid. I mean, oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, well, this is college, right?
So let's hear the rest of your list.
I have Stanford up there as well at about 54, so that's not cheap. There are some good deals out there. Purdue, I have at about 29 for out, but about 10 for in-state. So look for your in-state schools. Michigan, gosh, I never knew Michigan was so expensive. It's almost $50K out and 26 in.
Bananas.
Illinois and Texas. Apparently, Texas is a steal. It's like 11 to 18K. Like,
in-state.
go there.
Or
I think anywhere.
Okay. Wow.
Princeton, Texas A&M. The Air Force Institute of Technology comes in at number 13, which is... It makes sense, but that's interesting because you usually don't see Air Force on a list.
So I have best value. You know why it's on the list?
Why?
Because it's free.
Well, it is free.
Yeah,
that is
so
a good deal.
I have the United States Naval Academy and the United States Air Force Academy. It is $0 to attend because you obviously join the Navy or join the Air Force. And interestingly, the U.S. Naval Academy, fun fact, their graduates are among the highest earners
that's a good place.
in any so they're going to make more money than someone that went to MIT with an average starting salary over $80,000. Now, you're going to be, in the military for some extended period of time. You're enlisting for, 6 years or whatever the minimum time frame is, but a lot of these graduates are going out and getting great jobs with 0 school loans.
That's great.
And they have kind of that, if I'm an employer and I see 2 kind of relatively equal people from, an experience standpoint, and I got someone that went to the Air Force or Naval Academy, I'm thinking they're going to be a little more disciplined than the kid that was doing beer bongs at MIT last weekend.
I don't know if they do that at MIT.
I don't know if they do that either, but I'm just saying.
But
I feel like a person with military background would have a little bit of an edge.
I do know where they do that, which would be Penn State, and they came in at number 32 on the list. So, grad school lists looked about identical, Luke.
Yeah.
And then, if you're not from America, you can go to school too. University of Tokyo in Japan is really up there.
Okay.
University of Queensland in Australia. Swiss Federal Institute of Technology Zurich in Switzerland. Delft University of Tech in Netherlands. I can't say this word. Tsinghua University, or the National University of Defense Technology in China. Cambridge in the UK. I think they're good. That's like Harvard, isn't it?
I think so, basically.
University of Toronto in Canada. Ooh. So even for our American friends, maybe that's an option. Someplace in Rome. Sapienza.
Nailed it.
Thanks. I'm glad you're here to make me feel better.
Nailed it. Technical
University Munich. I love Germans. Technical University. Of course, that's your name. And then the Seoul National University in South Korea. Okay. So, we're a global podcast. So
we are a global podcast.
It's good that we throw this information out there.
We need to hear from some of our global friends.
We should hear from some of our global friends. Yeah. So do you think it's time for another break, or should we move on with a little more?
Let's do a break.
Okay.
Because the break really ties into what we're talking about right now.
Because it is time for Luke's rant.
So here's my rant, and I've done this one before, and I have to kind of do it again. And this is the cost of education and like what you choose to do whenever you become an adult. Because you're not very good at adulting. I'm not very good at adulting either.
No.
And we want to help the future generation of adults
be better than us.
Be better than us.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here for.
Low bar.
So I don't think we give free education. This notion of you go to school for free. I personally, I don't want to get political, and I won't mention anything like party-wise, but I just think that's kind of crazy, because then it just gets out of hand at that point. You'll have a whole bunch of people going to school for basket weaving for free.
Because not everyone needs to go to get a degree.
Exactly. So here's my thing.
Okay.
Don't buy what you can't afford, James. If you can't afford to go to MIT, go to an in-state school that's going to cost you a quarter of that and still get a decent job with way less debt. So if you do decide to go to a four-year school, look at in-state schools, kids. I mean, you save so much money going to an in-state school. Buy what you can afford. The first car you're going to buy isn't going to be a Lamborghini like James.
That's true.
Next up, make sure you look at alternatives. Think about the military. The fact that you got 2 military academies, you're going to graduate with 0 debt and have the highest average paying salary coming out. Like, why wouldn't you go to the military if you wanted to be, unless you're
I
weak?
can think of a couple reasons.
Yeah,
but...
you're weak and maybe you don't have a lot of discipline. And
So if you're me, you wouldn't do that.
no, you wouldn't do that. Think about going to a tech school. You know, you don't have to go and be an engineer. You can, go to a tech school and think about apprenticeships. You know, me and Mike Rowe, we're like this.
You guys are boys.
We're boys. I think that kids should seriously consider four-year alternatives because it's nonsense graduating with some amount of debt. So,
I think your boy Mike Rowe should probably come on as a guest.
he should.
That would be nice. So, Mike, if you're listening,
Let's start a petition.
let's start a petition.
I don't know what that means. Start a petition.
I don't either.
I've heard it
Nor
said
do I
before.
think it really matters if you have it signed by a lot of people or not. I'm going to put this out there. I went to a state school. I think I do all right. Not to mention that I'm part of the number 3 best podcast in all of Pittsburgh.
You are.
So, maybe Luke's right. Look into those options.
Yeah.
Don't buy MIT. Boycott, I would say.
I wouldn't say boycott. If you can
Boycott.
afford it, go. If you can't
Boycott.
afford it, don't go.
Boycott.
Simple.
All right, moving on.
Moving on.
What do you want to talk about next?
I want to talk about places to work, and you kind of stole
yeah.
my thunder because
I'm sorry.
you,
Keep going.
You did this. So this is the...
I just gave a quick overview. It was a teaser.
Okay. So
I was teeing it up for you.
teeing it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to knock it out of the park.
You're going to knock it out.
I'm going to hit a field goal.
Yeah.
Here we go. So the number one place to work if you are a aerospace engineer is Boeing.
Makes sense.
So Boeing was established back in 1916. They are the largest aerospace company in the world.
Don't we have a whole episode about Boeing?
I'm pretty sure we did a Boeing episode.
Check it out.
But they are the leading producer for commercial airliners, defense aircrafts, communication system, and satellites. Their headquarters are right here in Chicago. I say here like we're in Chicago. We're not in Chicago.
Right.
And they have over 140,000 employees globally, which is bananas.
It is bananas.
Number 2.
Ooh, number 2.
Lockheed Martin. And these folks are really more heavily involved with the military side of things. So Boeing does a lot of commercial. Boeing does both commercial and military, but Lockheed Martin is really heavy in state-of-the-art military defense systems. And they are really responsible and have a ton of expertise in military aircraft. And 2 in particular that they are known for is the F-22 Raptor.
Whoa, the
I just love
Raptor.
saying that.
Yeah.
And I thought I had 2. I only have 1. The F-22.
That's all they're known for.
The F-22
Way to go, Lockheed.
Raptor. Sorry. Next up, we're going to jump across the pond. This is going to be Airbus. They are the top aerospace company as of 2018. And obviously their biggest rival is Boeing.
They're the top now, huh?
Yeah,
They're the top dog.
Yeah, I think that's switched. Whenever I did my research, I was cutting and pasting.
After the most recent unfortunate accidents with Boeing, is that?
Yeah. So Airbus currently employs over 133,000 people spanning 4 different countries, and they are bigger in Europe than they are here in the U.S., obviously. General Dynamics.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't know
know they were so big.
Yeah, General Dynamics was founded in 1899. They're one of the oldest companies to work for as an aerospace engineer. And their probably most notable thing, and I didn't know they made these, the Gulfstream jet. I mean, that's all you hear about, like, John Travolta bought another Gulfstream.
I have 3.
Some mega pastor, has 3 Gulfstreams because he doesn't like flying commercial, whatever it is. You saw that video?
Yeah. I think maybe we should
weird.
make one of mine like the Unprofessional Engineering jet with like our faces and
could get it wrapped.
stuff on it. Yeah, we'll get it wrapped.
We'll get it wrapped.
Nice. Okay.
So General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, huge in the defense and aerospace. The next one is SpaceX. We don't think of them as necessarily anything with military, but they're doing a ton of stuff with commercializing space travel. And they just had did you see the video of the rocket dropping in a parachute and being caught by a boat in a net? It just
No, I
happened
did not see that.
earlier
That
this
sounds
week.
amazing.
Yeah, it was a portion of a rocket.
They just had a little trouble, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Rolls-Royce. Who would have thought? I thought Rolls-Royce just made really expensive cars for the Kardashians.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Rolls-Royce, they don't just make super luxurious vehicles. They make some of the crazy engines that go inside of
that makes sense.
These aircrafts. Blue Origin, well, they're not as popular as SpaceX because they don't have a cool weed-smoking owner like Elon Musk.
He smokes weed?
He smoked weed on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast.
Did he?
Yeah.
Why don't our guests come on and smoke weed?
Well, because we don't smoke weed.
Oh.
Their CEO is a little more subdued. Good old Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
But they're doing rocket development and doing all kinds of stuff again to commercialize space. And then the last one I have is Reaction Engine.
Never heard of them.
Never heard of them either. But they're listed as number 9. I'm sure these are all up for debate. They've been around since 1989, and they're working on rocket engines over in the UK.
Do you think BMW still does engines for
They probably do.
aerospace, you think?
I would guess.
I don't know. Isn't that like their whole symbol thing? Was
I
like
thought their
the
symbol
propeller
was a helicopter.
well, whatever it was, some sort of propellery thing. That's all aerospace.
Something like that.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that's interesting. I
Thank
wonder
you.
which one would you work for if you had the choice?
If I had to choose, I would probably work for, considering what you said, I'd probably work for Rolls-Royce.
Yeah. Do you think they give you a free car? They should. That would be
get
a perk.
discount, like an employee discount, right?
Yeah, they should give you a discount, 5% off, and you still can't ever afford one. So I was like, I would work for NASA because NASA's amazing. That's what I think.
It would be pretty cool to work for NASA.
So I was snooping around to try and understand what people do there. So here's a couple quotes from some folks that work there. So here's Dexter Edmond of NASA. As an engineer in the mechanical design division, so this is something I thought maybe I would be able to do if I was better at stuff, the mechanical design division of the propulsion laboratory in Marshall, my job essentially involves the design of mechanical ground support equipment in support of various projects. I'm working the MGSE team of the FastTac 60K engine as part of the Low Cost Technologies program. Blah, 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 continues on.
No,
so what
you
I
can't do
got
that.
out of that, well, one, I can't do that. Thank you, Luke. But two, this is going all the way back to the start of the episode when you were like, you're not going to do anything cool. You're going to work on one piece of junk that's strapped onto this thing. And that's exactly what he just said in that quote is like, I'm working on this ground equipment. His stuff's not even going into space.
Not even going into space. He's making a bracket that holds this stuff on the ground whenever they're moving it.
Yeah. So then there's Kelly Murphy. On the other hand,
Hopefully Kelly has a better one.
NASA is partnering with industry on the project for developing technology demonstrators that may lead to reusable launch vehicles. Read SpaceX.
Yeah.
The open jet wind tunnel is unique, so she works on a unique open jet wind tunnel that uses heavy gas instead of air to simulate re-entry conditions. The work that's done here is high-risk research that industry cannot afford to do. So she's doing really cool, cutting-edge, like wind tunnel research. She doesn't even make a thing that doesn't go into space.
I know, but hers sounds cooler.
Hers does sound
cool. Would you rather be
cool.
the bracket guy, or would you rather be her?
I'd rather. Ooh. So I had like a fluid flow class where you'd have to do testing like that in like a really small wind tunnel or with like water over things.
Okay.
And I was really bad at it.
Yeah.
Like fluid dynamics was not one of my better classes.
I could see that.
So I think I'd be better at Dexter's job, but Kelly's sounds a lot cooler, doesn't it? So that's just some options. If you're looking to go to NASA, those are some things you might be looking to get into. So if you want to work at the Kennedy Space Center, here's what you need to do.
You would be a tour guide there, I think.
That was hurtful.
Think you could do that?
I probably wouldn't be allowed to do that
Wouldn't
either.
qualify.
No. Serve as an integration engineer with the Launch Service Program. You could establish technical requirements for spacecrafts. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Coordinate with spacecraft customer and launch service providers to develop requirements for all ground and airborne electrical, mechanical, and environmental options.
You keep saying writing requirements sounds like the worst potential job in all of engineering.
Yeah, it just sounds terrible. Evaluate mission technical risks. That sounds terrible. So I don't want to read off all of these, but it basically just doesn't sound like what I want it to be.
No.
I want to be making a spaceship, going to Mars, and being an astronaut.
Yeah.
The rest of this just sounds not fun.
Yeah, well, we did the episode on the Challenger disaster.
We did.
We interviewed those folks, and like the jobs those guys had and they weren't working for NASA specifically. They were a supplier to NASA, But basically, the gist of the movie and the story is these guys designed O-rings that hold things. That's all they did was O-rings that hold things together. And granted, that O-ring failed and it caused a huge disaster, obviously. But
Challenger disaster.
But could you imagine, like, your only job is this O-ring, and that's it?
Yeah.
That sounds. So maybe the fact that you and I were so bad at engineering that we now do
Really
marketing,
lucked out.
we kind of lucked out. Because I could be designing O-rings right now and doing nothing else.
Yeah.
You could be making brackets for NASA, but you get to be here with me each and every week.
Yeah, that's really a great point you have there, Luke. Quick breakdown for you before we wrap things up. So what kind of jobs do you get? 38% fall into the aerospace products and parts manufacturing, 14% in engineering services, 13% in the federal government, excluding the post office, obviously, 12% in research and development of physical engineering and life sciences, and 5% in navigational measuring, electromedical, and control instruments. So that's something.
Okay.
Oh, how about this one? Fun fact to end
Shoot.
it all. In 2016, and for the fourth time in 6 years, Penn State topped the list as preferred suppliers of engineering talent to the aerospace and defense industry, according to Aviation Week 2016 workforce study.
Go
We are
Cougars.
Penn State.
What are they?
Nittany Lions, man. Nittany Lions.
Nittany-
Respect.
I'm sorry.
Show some
Nittany-
respect.
Sorry, Nittany Cougars.
All right. Do you have anything else to add
Nope.
on here, Luke?
That's it.
All
That's
right.
all I got.
Hopefully some of you learned something, and maybe you're deciding to go be an aeronautical or aerospace engineer now, even though it all sounds really boring. But you make good money, so keep that in mind.
Cha-ching.
All right. Well, until next time.
See ya.